The story starts off with two characters sitting inside a car. The older person there tries to tell the younger one to be diligent and investigate the cases he has been told to. However, the younger one seems insistent on getting a break as he doesn't care. The older one explains that even if they rack up all his holidays at once, he doesn't have a lot of days to take off. Besides, it's important for him to do the job properly. This makes the nonchalant young one give away his police ID, which states that his name is Go Eun-sung, implying that if he doesn't get his way with things, he is going to quit. This makes the older dude panic, while Eun-sung explains that he is doing this because of the police department's incompetency. Even the chairman of the department should know that all the investigation information that they had gathered has been wasted away, and corrupt people from within have let hardened criminals out for no reason. This makes him sick, which is why he doesn't want to associate with them anymore after the mission, and he states that if he were to continue, he wants to change the whole system. He knows that the people higher up are messed up, and that is why he wants to bring them all down and create a system that is fair and just. Saying this, he walks out towards the building while the elder guy tried to tell him to be careful and warns him to not hit anyone, and if there comes a case of him being attacked, he should just purely take it normally and leave the scene immediately. However, he doesn't care about it, so Eun-sung just leaves the scene and goes towards the building. The building is huge, and from the looks of it, it looked like a high school campus. After standing near the entrance and checking out the place, Eun-sung goes inside it. We learn that the place is indeed a high school, and it is called the Myeong-sung High School, which is located in Makgeon. There is a rumor that this school is a hub to train future gangsters for a specific crime syndicate, and to investigate that part, Go Eun-sung has arrived as a transfer student. The teacher announces to everyone about the arrival of Go Eun-sung and the students, who are all looking like they are delinquents. However, everyone seemed to accept the arrival of Eun-sung normally, which is a bit off-putting. Eun-sung sits down at his desk, as he wonders just what kind of people these people are, as he thinks about the history of the Makgeon region and its connection with the Myeong-sung High School. The problem starts from the Mucheon City's former council member, Lim Jae-young, who was associated with the Makgeon Merchant Trading Association, or the MMTA for short. MMTA is a well-known crime syndicate which has been running several illegal activities, alongside the trading business that they run up front. Being a crime syndicate, they require a lot of members to stay afloat, and to get those members, it was reported that they would often look into young high school kids with a knack of the delinquent life. What added further substance to the rumor was that most of the kids who ended up joining the group were students from the Myeong-sung High School, thus giving them the title of being the training hub for future gangsters. As he is thinking about these things, a student walks up to Go Eun-sung and asks him if he knows how to fight or not. Eun-sung immediately understands that this kid is one of those quintessential bully kids from his look and straightforwardness. However, he remembers that his partner had advised him to not get in a fight at all, which is why he tells the guy that he cannot fight and is one of the people who believes in peace and tranquility. The guy says that he must be from that side before introducing himself as Lee Ji-ho. Go Eun-sung is once again taken aback by the lack of violence from the guy, and that is when a second guy comes up and offers to take Eun-sung on a tour to check out the new school. Lee Ji-ho, however, tells him that he wants to do that instead, and the two have a safe and friendly discussion about who should take Eun-sung. Eun-sung is borderline weirded out by the niceness of these guys, and wonders how are they from such a notorious high school. Eventually, Lee Ji-ho is the one who takes Go Eun-sung on a tour, and he says that he is pretty used to take people on a school tour because they get a lot of transfer students and it is good to teach them about the school and its various locations early on for them to settle in. The guys then offers to take Eun-sung to the canteen, where he can get something to eat, and tells him to get a name tag from there. Go Eun-sung is quite frankly surprised on how nice the people have been to him at this school. As he had expected it to be a living hell, however, he still doubts that there must be some hidden motives behind all of this, because the guy has a very peculiar hairstyle and even has piercings like wannabe gangsters. He is also taken aback by the infrastructure and tidiness of the building. As he didn't expect this either, he wonders just how much money was spent to make such a nice building, but quickly realizes that the money used for it must have been blood money. Just then Lee Ji-ho tells Eun-sung that they will go downstairs and outside next, as that will make the pathway to the canteen be easier. Go Eun-sung is quite sure that this is where Lee Ji-ho will turn on him, and this is all an elaborate setup to beat him up, but as he kept following the guy, his jaw dropped to realizes that he has really taken him to the canteen instead of doing something violent. Lee Ji-ho asks for Eun-sung's name again as he has bought the tag for him already, and says that in order to celebrate the debut of him, he will be buying Eun-sung a drink, but advises him to pick the cheapest one due to budgetary restrictions. Later on, as he is taking a sip of his drink, Go Eun-sung is once again thinking about the rumors about Myeongsung High School and wonders what is the reason behind them, because from what he has experienced all day, he can tell that the people here are very kind despite the fact that they look rather angry and violent. However, Eun-sung thinks to himself that this is all for the good, as not having to deal with delinquents just makes life easier for him, and leaves nothing to be investigated. That being said, he still feels a tinge of disappointment as he had thought that this place was going to be a big ride for them. Just then, Eun-sung sees Lee Ji-ho doing something, and he takes this opportunity to ask him a question. Eun-sung asks him if there were any problem childs or delinquent in the school. This question seems to hit something inside Ji-ho, however, right at that moment, a green-haired delinquent slaps one of the normal kids in the face and knocks him out. The delinquent causes a lot of chaos, claiming to be from a different high school, only coming to Myeongsung to teach them a lesson. He calls out everyone from the Myeongsung side and challenges their leader to step out for him. He is greeted with pure silence, which boosts his ego, as he says that no one in this school even has the ability to talk back to him, let alone fight him. Just then, Lee Ji-ho makes a bit of sound, which draws the guy's attention to him. He walks up to him and is surprised from seeing smaller guys like Eun-sung and Ji-ho there. He says that he had expected something big, but this turned out to be rather disappointing. Eun-sung tries his best to create some distance between the huge guy and Lee Ji-ho, however, this results in him getting pushed away by that guy. It was a hard shove, so it sent Eun-sung flying back, as he contemplated on fighting back, but eventually stopped remembering what his senior had said to him. After getting up, Eun-sung realizes that he could have almost broken his hand on that landing. However, he notices that the guy is now confronting Ji-ho. Ji-ho says he finds this all very funny, which makes the dude slap Ji-ho hard as well, and it breaks his glasses. However, Ji-ho was unfazed by this. Ji-ho says that he finds it funny that he is bragging about his school, as if it is the best fighting school in the entirety of Seoul, when it is nothing. He then talks to Eun-sung, informing him that this school seemed rather tame, not because they don't do anything violent, it's because their violence mess is cleared up professionally. Saying this, Ji-ho starts unloading on the delinquent with relentless punches. He keeps punching him till he can't stand anymore, and even when he falls down, the beatdown continues, and it continues until he is left in a vegetative state. After which, Lee Ji-ho gets off of him and moves on to Eun-sung, where he sees that the tag he had bought for him ended up getting broken, and so he brings a random one and gives it to him. Go Eun-sung asks just why is the name tag so necessary, to which Lee Ji-ho informs him that it is the thing that separates the fighters and learners. He explains that students are divided in two parts. The ones who fight are fighters, the ones who don't are learners because they are there to study normally. However, he shouldn't worry because the fighters don't bully the learners for no reason, so there is that. However, he must have his name tag on at all times to show the difference, and he must not break the protocols. He also informs Go Eun-sung that the person who buys you the tag, who in this case is Lee Ji-ho, needs to be paid 500,000 won every month, and his payment needs to be made tomorrow. Besides that, he advises Eun-sung to look for a good place to live and prepare well for his studies, and informs him to not take the middle stairs, as that is designated for the fighters only. As he hears this, Go Eun-sung smiles, knowing that the school is extreme after all, and that he needs to deal with these weird bunch of people. After that, Go Eun-sung is seen walking alone in the hallway of the school, as he tries to digest all the information that he has gathered about Myeongsung High School. He thinks about how there are two different categories for people, one being fighter, the other being learner. However, he already knows what separates a learner from a fighter, so his investigation has become easier, because now he knows who he should focus. Go Eun-sung decides that he will first try and figure out just how many fighters there are in the school, as that will make his job even more specific and sortable. However, he wonders how he will go with that. For now, he decides that he will try and get stuff out from that Lee Ji-ho guy from earlier. Just then, Eun-sung runs into two guys, and this pisses off them both, as they cuss out at him for not paying attention. Eun-sung obviously feels angry himself too, because he knows that he can easily dispatch both of those guys. However, he opts not to do that because his senior had warned him about going violent, as that might expose his identity to everyone. Eun-sung walks away from the conflict, and he realizes there is not much point in dwelling over such little things and decides to get to work. He opens up the Memos app on his phone, where he had saved his to-do list for this mission. On there is an entry suggesting Go Eun-sung to search for a student called Shin Tae-jin, as he is an important part of this all. The scene suddenly shifts, and we are greeted there with the visual of someone snapping a name tag that has Shin Tae-jin written on it. After which, we get to witness the beatdown of Shin Tae-jin, as the big guy from earlier is putting on a clinic while a bunch of other guys watch. The guy starts with hitting a serious combination of punches to Tae-jin, to which he has no response to. He hits him with a devastating uppercut which floors him. The guys watching this are all making fun of Tae-jin, saying how they are surprised that Tae-jin has come back for a fight for what is now a week, every day. However, the boss of that group tells them to shut up, as he wants to concentrate on the fight. Shin Tae-jin is defiant, as he tries to do everything, physically and mentally, to come back. However, the guy is too strong, and he stomps on the hand of Tae-jin, making him scream in agony. The guy then adds insult to injury as he puts on a stomping show, where it could be said that he stomped mud holes through Tae-jin. At that point, the fight was virtually called off, as it became obvious that Shin Tae-jin has been defeated soundly. The guys who watched this go down all have a slightly irritated reaction to this, as they had seen Shin Tae-jin overcoming adversary for 7 days in a row, only for him to fail now. They wished he survived another day, because if he did, they would have gotten their hands on him. Anyway, the guys slowly walk away from the scene, as they have done their job. However, just when they are walking away, a loud thud is heard and everyone, including the boss, turns around to find that the big dominating guy is down, and he is knocked out cold, with the one standing tall being Shin Tae-jin. The boss is honestly amazed by this, as he asks his underlings just what the name of the guy is, as it intrigues him a lot. Back to Go Eun-sung once again, we see that he is walking around the hallway again, as he ponders on what to do next. As he passes by a particular classroom, he sees 2 guys talking to each other on their way out of there. Eun-sung decides to ask them for leads, and does just that, as he asks them if they know who Shin Tae-jin is, and where he might find him. The guys are angered by the question asked to them, and have no intention on answering the question that was asked to them. They also make fun of Eun-sung, calling him a loser. Eun-sung hears this and points out at their name tag, saying all of them have this tag, so if Eun-sung is a loser, so are they. They get super pissed off by this, and confront Eun-sung. They say that he is probably new to this, which is why he thinks that everyone with a name tag are equal, but they're very much not. They also question his attitude, as he was constantly talking back to them, so they threaten to finish him off. Eun-sung knows very well that he can rip these guys to shreds, but he can't do that for obvious reasons, which is why he apologizes to them, but the guys are hell-bent on beating him up big time. However, Eun-sung offers to buy them something to eat tomorrow, if they give him information about Shin Tae-jin. The guys question why he is offering to buy them tomorrow and not right there, but Eun-sung informs them that he mistakenly brought his card, and the canteen only accepts cash. The guys tell him that Shin Tae-jin could be found at the yard behind the basketball court, and Eun-sung takes the knowledge and decides to go there and check him out for himself. As they are going separate ways, the guys talk about how they informed him about that place, but that place is kinda dangerous, and if he goes there, he will just see Tae-jin getting beaten up silly. The scene transitions back to the yard, where the boss of the delinquents acknowledges Shin Tae-jin, saying that he likes him, and he couldn't have thought that he was so strong. He questions how Tae-jin has managed to be a learner for so long, and endure this much. Even during the fights, he had to endure a beatdown for an entire week, yet he endured through it and managed to beat all the first-year fighters that were thrown at him. Tae-jin says that if he calls that enduring, then he must be quite bad at enduring stuff. The boss scoffs over this and asks him why he had messed with the hair trimmer, but Tae-jin asked him if he is taking a personality test, and just tells him to come at him. The boss laughs it off, saying that Tae-jin is nowhere on his level. He had a hard time beating the first years, so he has no shot at someone like him, and in fact, he is going to have a much harder time with the second years. After that, he tells his squad to move along as he leaves the scene. His lackeys are a bit weirded out, as they expected to get a chance to beat him up. One of the guys then suggests that they should go beat him up and teach him a good lesson, but the boss tells them not to. The boss tells him that he likes Tae-jin, and because of that, if anyone tries to hit him now, they will have to go through him. After that, they walk away from the scene. As this is going on, Go Eun-sung comes to the scene looking for Tae-jin. Eun-sung asks the crew if they have seen Shin Tae-jin, and this pisses off the group, but the boss tells them to let him go, to which the rest of the group agrees, and leaves. Eun-sung then walks up to Shin Tae-jin and asks him if he is the guy. Go Eun-sung introduces himself as a second-year student, and this triggers something inside Shin Tae-jin, as he assumes that Go Eun-sung is a second-year goon who came to beat him. Shin Tae-jin starts off with a wicked uppercut, which he misses. That was followed by lead hook, which was dodged by Go Eun-sung. Eun-sung is genuinely surprised by the unexpected hostility, and he asks Shin Tae-jin just why he was doing what he was doing, but Tae-jin was having none of that, as he just rammed Eun-sung to the nearest wall and started attacking him with all he has got. Shin Tae-jin hits a solid punch to the midsection of Eun-sung, which hurts him quite a lot, and Shin Tae-jin adds to this by throwing more punches. As all of this is going on, Eun-sung keeps thinking about how his senior had told him not to fight. Eun-sung keeps a pretty proper block, allowing him to block the round punches to the face and body. However, he was still talking some recoil damage. Go Eun-sung tries his best to divert his mind by thinking about the senior's lesson again. What surprises him, though, is the out-of-nowhere straight right from Shin Tae-jin, which goes through the block and hits Eun-sung flush in the face. This was the final draw for Eun-sung, as he looked like a man possessed after it. Meanwhile, back in the police station, the senior of Eun-sung is standing in his room, looking worried, while a picture of Eun-sung with a gold medal could be seen. One of his co-workers comes and asks him to join them for lunch. He also points out how the senior must be missing Eun-sung a lot, to which the senior replies that he is not missing anyone, and that he is just hoping that Eun-sung doesn't mess up. Back to the fight, Go Eun-sung finally leaves his inhibitions go, as he grabs the collar of Shin Tae-jin, before slamming him down like a proper judoka, like he was nothing. After he is done slamming Shin Tae-jin down to the ground, Go Eun-sung realizes just what he had done, as his senior's words flash his mind. He realizes the huge mistake he had made, and comes to regret it. He talks to a messed-up Shin Tae-jin, telling him it was his fault for coming onto him in such an aggressive manner, which is why he was forced to retaliate. He also hopes that there was no one who saw what he had done, as that would get him into a lot of trouble. However, Lee Ji-ho could be seen from the sides, witnessing all this go down. Some time passes, and Shin Tae-jin eventually gets up, and he is left shocked as he doesn't know just what had hit him. However, he soon comes to realize what had happened to him, and he could be seen running away with rage in his eyes. Meanwhile, Go Eun-sung is frustrated because what had transpired makes him scream out loud in frustration, which makes the guys around him get mad at him, as he was being too loud. Not wanting to create further problems on his first day at work, Eun-sung apologizes and moves forward. He once again brings out the memo app on his phone to check out what else he had noted down there for investigation. Eun-sung sees that there is an entry to reinvestigate the construction site murder case, and also an entry for the passing away of a high schooler. He picks to investigate the case of the construction site, as he was leaving school wanting to investigate alone. As he is walking away, the guys who he had bumped into earlier called out to Eun-sung, telling him to stop. Eun-sung realizes that this will cause another issue, which is why Eun-sung distracts them, and uses that chance to run away. The guys quickly notice his trick and run after Eun-sung. Eun-sung tells them that he will see them tomorrow, but they won't have it. Part of Eun-sung wanted to just stop and give it to them, and beat them up badly, but he knows that he shouldn't be doing that. He also notices that it is quite hard to run on in the school uniform, which is why he decides to wear normal clothes for his next investigation runs. This is when the guys also realize that Eun-sung is just too damn quick. Suddenly, Eun-sung stops, as he remembers that he needs to pay $500 to Ji-ho for the name tag, and he understands just how ridiculous the amount is. He decides to not give the amount to Ji-ho because that amount is just too much. For a moment, the guys chasing after Eun-sung almost catch up to him, but Eun-sung is just too quick, as he runs away again, leaving them in tatters. Eventually, the guys stop, knowing that they have no chance of catching up to Eun-sung, as they are exhausted. Eun-sung strengthens his resolve to not pay the $500 to Ji-ho. The very next day, Eun-sung folds and gives Lee Ji-ho the $500. He is sad about giving away such a big amount, but finds solace in knowing that he will make back this amount after this mission. To his surprise, Lee Ji-ho actually denies to take the amount, as Lee Ji-ho tells him that the floor leader is not present, so he doesn't need to give it today. Eun-sung is surprised about this, as he thought Ji-ho was taking the money for himself. Ji-ho then further adds that the $500 is not enough, and that he needs to add $100 more to this, which will definitely mess him up. Eun-sung is shocked by this, as he doesn't know how to pay the amount, and Jiho adds further to his fears by telling him that he already saw what Eun-sung had done to Tae-jin. Eun-sung tries to explain the situation, saying it was Tae-jin who had started this by attacking him, and he had just defended himself. Jiho says that doesn't matter cause Tae-jin is a mean guy who had recently got popular for his fighting skills. Shin Tae-jin was a good learner, until one day he fought with a fighter from the Mad Gang, and that is where it all changed for him. More people from the Mad were sent at him every day to fight, and even though he got beaten up by them at first, he eventually hunted them down and beat them up, which is why Jiho tells him that Tae-jin will be coming after him. Eun-sung is a bit overwhelmed by this information, but Jiho adds more to it by telling him how the Mad group will come after him as well. The fighters in their school are divided into several groups. The biggest one is Mad. They're the number one. They like to pick apart their target when they get one, and if they are interrupted, they get mad, which is why they'll come after Eun-sung now. Eun-sung is obviously worried, and takes this opportunity to keep his money, which Jiho allows for now. After that, Eun-sung goes to visit a store near the construction site where the crime took place. He tries to talk with a worker of the convenience store, asking her for access of the CCTV footage from that particular day. However, the woman outright refuses to show it to him, stating that the police have told her not to. Eun-sung tells her that he is a police officer too, but the lady doesn't believe it, and Eun-sung has no way to prove it either, as he had handed over his ID card before the mission started. With no other choice left, and with the hostile behavior of the lady, Eun-sung leaves the store. The whole interaction left him with a sour taste in his mouth, but he ignores that, wonders how he can connect the dots without the footage. He stands near the construction site, as he thinks about how the police will just cover this case up because it is small. Some context is given about the case, as we learn that a student from Myeongsung High School had lost their life there a few months back. Rumors were that the kid had faced a lot of bullying at school, and that he took his own life on that day. However, Eun-sung believes there is something behind all of this that is covered up. Or rather, there is someone who is behind this thing. A flashback is shown of the time Eun-sung and his seniors visited the scene of the crime for the first time for investigation's sake. There, they couldn't really find any evidence that pointed it to not be a case of the student taking his own life, even though it came off as rather unusual. Unable to do something, and getting a call for a different investigation, Eun-sung's senior calls out to him to go back. Eun-sung was heavy-hearted, as he wanted to solve this case, but couldn't and had to leave, which is why he is now back, and he wants to solve this case at all costs. Back to the scene, Eun-sung walks up the stairs of the building that was being worked on to find everything he could, but what Lee Jiho said earlier was bothering him. Lee Jiho told him about Shin Tae-jin's antics and how he took out 5 guys. However, what struck him the most was the rumor of Tae-jin taking someone's life. It bothers him a lot. Anyway, as he gets to the top, Eun-sung looks around, only to find out that Tae-jin was standing right behind him. This leaves him shocked, as he asks Tae-jin if he followed him all the way to this place. But Tae-jin replies with a question of himself, asking just who Eun-sung is. He doubles down on the question, and this angers Eun-sung, as he tells Tae-jin that he isn't as easy as he might seem. Right after this, Tae-jin sprints towards Eun-sung to beat him up, but as he runs at him with full momentum, Eun-sung just uses that against him, and pulls off a perfectly timed leg sweep which puts him down. This leaves Tae-jin a bit shocked, but he has no time to waste as he tries to get back up, but Eun-sung has him covered with his fist hovering over Tae-jin's face.